The most bizarre thing that ever happened to me, and still has no explanation. I never believed in coincidences. Or fate. Or any of that supernatural nonsense people cling to when they can't explain something. I was the guy at parties who'd roll his eyes when someone started talking about their psychic connection with their cat or how Mercury retrograde was messing with their Wi-Fi. Science, logic, rational thought, that was my religion. Until 6 months ago. Now I'm not sure what I believe anymore. It started with a coffee cup. My coffee cup. The one that shouldn't have existed. "Dude, you look like crap," said Marcus, dropping into the chair across from me at our usual corner table at Groundwork Coffee. The January Los Angeles sunshine streamed through the windows, mocking my sleep-deprived state. "Thanks for the update," I muttered, taking another sip from my extra-large black coffee. "Been coding all night for that fintech startup. The one with the impossible deadline." Marcus nodded sympathetically. As my roommate since college and fellow software engineer, he understood the brutal hours our profession sometimes demanded. "The Quantum Pay project? The one you said would make us rich if they ever actually launch?" "That's the one." I rubbed my eyes. "They want the security protocol revamped by Monday. It's Saturday." Hence I gestured to my disheveled appearance and the coffee that was essentially functioning as life support. Marcus pulled out his laptop. "I've got a couple hours before meeting Zoe. Want me to help?" I was about to answer when something caught my eye. A woman at the counter was holding a coffee mug. Not a paper cup. Not one of those reusable tumblers everyone carried around. A ceramic mug with a very specific design. My mug. Let me explain. For my 30th birthday last year, my sister Ellie had commissioned a custom mug from an artist friend of hers. It featured an inside joke, a cartoon of me as a kid dressed as Einstein for Halloween, with the caption relatively caffeinated underneath. "One of a kind. Unique. Impossible to duplicate unless you had the original digital file, which only my sister had." And yet, there it was, in a complete stranger's hands. "Hello? Earth to Noah?" Marcus waved his hand in front of my face. "Sorry," I said, still staring. "That woman over there. Look at her mug." Marcus followed my gaze. "The dark-haired one in the green sweater? What about it?" "That's my birthday mug. The one Ellie had made for me." Marcus squinted. "Can't see it from here, man." "You sure?" "Positive." I stood up abruptly. "I'll be right back." Before Marcus could respond, I was weaving between tables toward the counter. The woman was now adding cream to her coffee, still holding the mug that couldn't possibly exist. As I got closer, I could see the cartoon clearly, definitely my Einstein Halloween costume from when I was 8. Definitely my face. Definitely my mug. "Excuse me," I said, trying not to sound as freaked out as I felt. She turned, revealing striking hazel eyes and a skeptical expression. "Yes? This is going to sound really weird, but that mug. Where did you get it?" She glanced down at the mug in her hands, then back at me, her posture shifting slightly. "Great." Now she thought I was some kind of creep. "It's mine," she said simply. "I bring it from home. They fill it for me here." I know this sounds crazy, but that exact mug was custom made for me. It's me as a kid, dressed as Einstein for Halloween. She studied my face, then looked at the cartoon on the mug. "That's not possible. Tell me about it." I pulled out my phone, scrolled through my photos, and showed her a picture of me holding the identical mug on my birthday. "See?" Her eyes widened. She set the mug down carefully on the counter, as if it might suddenly bite. "How is this possible?" "I have no idea," I admitted. "Did someone give it to you?" She shook her head. "My brother found it at a thrift store in Silver Lake last month. He thought it was funny because..." "Because what?" "Because I dressed as Einstein for Halloween when I was a kid too." She looked up at me, confusion clouding her face. "My name's Ava, by the way." Noah, I replied automatically, still trying to process what she just said. Wait, you also dressed as Einstein? Yeah. I was obsessed with him in elementary school. Had the wild white hair wig and everything? A chill ran down my spine that had nothing to do with the coffee shop's aggressive air conditioning. This is beyond weird, I said. Ava picked up the mug again, examining it more closely. The thing is, I always thought this was supposed to be me as a kid. The resemblance is uncanny. We stood there in awkward silence, both staring at an impossible coffee mug. I should probably get back to my friend, I finally said, nodding toward Marcus, who was watching us with undisguised curiosity. Right, yes, Ava replied. She hesitated, then pulled out her phone. But maybe we should exchange numbers? To figure this out? I entered my number into her phone, still feeling like I'd stumbled into someone else's reality. Text me. We definitely need to get to the bottom of this. As I walked back to Marcus, I felt like the floor was slightly tilted, the world just a few degrees off its axis. Well? Marcus asked as I collapsed back into my seat. Did you reclaim your precious mug from the coffee thief? It's not that simple, I said, still trying to make sense of it all. Her name is Ava. And apparently, she also dressed as Einstein for Halloween as a kid. Marcus laughed. Weird coincidence. Is it, though? What are the odds? Higher than you think. Einstein costumes aren't exactly rare. He shrugged. Maybe her mug just looks similar to yours. It's identical, I insisted. And she thought it was her as a kid in the picture. Okay, that's bizarre, Marcus admitted. Did you ask her where she got it? Her brother found it at a thrift store. I pulled out my phone to show him the photo of me with my mug, but as I scrolled through my gallery, a cold feeling settled in my stomach. That's strange. What? The picture of me with the mug. It's gone. Marcus rolled his eyes. You probably deleted it accidentally. I never delete photos, I said, continuing to scroll frantically through my phone. And it was right here, I just showed it to Ava a minute ago. Maybe it's in a different album? I checked every album, searched by date, even looked in my recently deleted folder. Nothing. This doesn't make sense, I muttered. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Hi, it's Ava from the coffee shop. This is going to sound crazy, but did you say your sister had this mug made for you? I typed back, yes. My sister Ellie commissioned it from an artist friend for my 30th birthday. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, I don't have a picture of me with the mug anymore. It's just gone from my phone. A second text followed immediately, also, I don't have a brother. I met Ava again that evening at a small bar in Echo Park. It was her suggestion, a public place where we could talk without either of us feeling uncomfortable. Smart woman. She was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table with the mysterious mug in front of her. Thanks for coming, she said as I sat down. I know this is supremely weird. That's putting it mildly. I gestured to the mug. You brought it. I thought we should examine it together. Try to figure out what's going on. I picked it up carefully, turning it over in my hands. It was exactly like mine, the weight, the slightly rough texture where the handle joined the body, even the tiny chip on the rim that I'd caused when I'd accidentally knocked it against the kitchen faucet. This is definitely my mug, I said. But that's impossible. What exactly did you tell me about your sister this morning? Ava asked, her voice careful, measured. Ellie. She had this made for my birthday. And where does Ellie live? Chicago. She's a graphic designer there. I set the mug down. Why? Ava took a deep breath. I looked through my text messages after we talked. Messages from people I could have sworn were my family. She paused. I don't have any texts from anyone named Tyler, who I thought was my brother. And when I called my mom to casually ask about him, she had no idea who I was talking about. What are you saying? I'm saying that I have detailed memories of a brother who apparently doesn't exist. And you have detailed memories of a sister who. She let the sentence hang. No, I said firmly. This is ridiculous. I just spoke to Ellie last week about coming to visit for spring break with her kids. Call her, Ava challenged gently. My fingers trembled slightly as I pulled out my phone and tapped Ellie's contact. It rang once, twice, 3 times. The number you have dialed is not in service, said the automated voice. Please check the number and try again. I hung up and immediately tried again. Same result. That's not right, I said, feeling a knot form in my stomach. Let me try my parents. My mother answered on the second ring. Noah. What a nice surprise. Everything okay, honey? Hey, Mom. Quick question, what's Ellie's new number? I'm trying to reach her about her visit. A pause. Who's Ellie, sweetheart? The knot in my stomach turned to ice. Very funny, Mom. My sister? Your daughter? Another pause, longer this time. Noah, are you feeling all right? You don't have a sister, honey. You're an only child. Always have been. I ended the call without saying goodbye, my mind racing. This isn't possible, I whispered, staring at Ava. I know, she agreed, her face pale. But it's happening. We sat in stunned silence for several minutes, the mug between us like some cursed artifact. What do we have in common? Ava finally asked. Besides apparently both having siblings who no longer exist and dressing as Einstein for Halloween? I shook my head. I don't know. I'm a software engineer. I work for various tech companies as a contractor. I grew up in San Diego. Moved to LA after college. Pretty normal life. I'm a neurologist at Cedars-Sinai, Ava said. Grew up in Portland. Moved here for my residency 6 years ago and stayed. No obvious connections, I mused. Wait, you said your brother found the mug at a thrift store in Silver Lake? Which one? Time Warp Vintage on Sunset. I donate there sometimes, I said, feeling a small flash of excitement at finding a potential link. Maybe I donated my mug and your non-existent brother bought it? But you still had the mug this morning, right? Before our conversation? The excitement deflated. I thought I did. But now I'm not sure of anything. Ava leaned forward. When was the last time you specifically remember using your mug? I thought back. 3 days ago. I had coffee before heading to a client meeting. And I've had this mug for about a month, Ava said. So either there are 2 identical custom mugs, which seems unlikely, or reality changed, I finished, hardly believing I was saying those words out loud. Or one of us is confused, Ava added pragmatically. Or lying. Are you lying? I asked. No. Are you? No. We stared at each other across the table, 2 strangers connected by an impossible coffee mug and memories of people who no longer existed. What do we do now? I asked. Ava took a sip from her drink. We investigate. Starting with Time Warp Vintage. The thrift store was closed by the time we finished our drinks, but we agreed to meet there the next morning. I spent a restless night Googling theories about parallel universes, false memories, and the Mandela effect, that phenomenon where large groups of people misremember the same details in the same way. None of it helped me sleep. The next morning, I arrived at Time Warp Vintage 5 minutes before opening. Ava was already there, looking as tired as I felt. Any revelations overnight? She asked as I approached. Just that WebMD thinks we're both having psychotic breaks, I replied, attempting humor despite my growing unease. The store owner, a woman in her 60s with gray dreadlocks and more bangles than I could count, unlocked the door precisely at 10 a.m. The shop was crammed with vintage clothing, vinyl records, and assorted knickknacks from every decade of the past century. Welcome to Time Warp, she said cheerfully. Looking for anything specific today? Ava stepped forward. Actually, yes. A friend here donated a coffee mug recently, and I was wondering if you remembered it. It's kind of distinctive. She held up the mug in question. The owner studied it, then shook her head. Don't recall seeing that one, and I process most donations myself. Cute, though. Are you certain? I pressed. It would have been within the last month or so. Pretty sure, honey. I'd remember a custom piece like that. She tapped the side of her head. Got a mind like a steel trap for the unusual stuff. We thanked her and wandered deeper into the store, ostensibly browsing but actually whispering to each other. So much for that lead, I said. Maybe we're approaching this wrong, Ava suggested. Let's think about what happened yesterday morning, right before we met. What were you doing? Coding all night. Met Marcus for coffee. Saw you with the mug. That's it. And I was. She closed her eyes, concentrating. I was at home grading neurology residency applications. Then I went for a run. Then coffee. Nothing jumped out as significant. Let's try another angle, I said. If reality changed somehow, when exactly did it change? And why just our siblings? Ava's eyebrows shot up. Oh. I just remembered something. Last night I checked my bank statements and there's a recurring monthly payment to a Tyler Martinez for $500 that I've been making for years. I assumed it was some kind of identity theft, but now. Your brother's last name was Martinez? Not yours? Half-brother, she explained. Different fathers. I pulled out my phone and checked my own bank app. Sure enough, there was a recurring payment to E. Lawson every month for $300. I thought that was my portion of Ellie's family cell phone plan, I said, showing Ava the screen. But now? So there's still evidence they existed, Ava murmured. Just not in anyone's memories except ours. We spent another hour in the thrift store, looking for anything else that might connect our stories, but found nothing. As we left, the owner called out to us. Hey, if you like unusual items, you might want to check out that new place that opened last month on Melrose. What's it called? Quantum something. Ava and I froze, then turned slowly to face her. Quantum what? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Quantum. Acquisitions? Quantum collections? Something like that. She waved her hand dismissively. Weird little shop. Only open at night. Sells all sorts of oddities. My mind flashed to the project I'd been working on. Quantum Pay. The security protocol I'd been coding all night before meeting Ava. Quantum Curiosities, Ava said suddenly. Is that it? The owner snapped her fingers. That's the one. Have you been? No, said Ava, but I've heard of it. She looked at me meaningfully. We should check it out. Outside, I pulled Ava aside. How do you know about that shop? I don't, she admitted. The name just popped into my head. Like I've always known it. The chill I'd felt in the coffee shop returned, spreading through my entire body. The project I'd been working on is called Quantum Pay, I told her. Some kind of next-gen financial technology. They're very secretive about the details. Ava's eyes widened. This can't be a coincidence. We need to see this shop, I said. Tonight. Quantum Curiosities turned out to be a tiny storefront wedged between a vintage clothing boutique and a crystal healing shop on Melrose Avenue. From the outside, it looked unremarkable, just a black door with the shop name in small silver lettering and a sign stating open 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. Who runs a shop with those hours? I wondered aloud as we approached at 8:30 that evening. Someone who doesn't want too many customers, Ava replied. The interior was dimly lit, with glass display cases lining the walls and a maze of shelves creating narrow pathways through the center of the space. The air smelled of dust and something else, something electric, like the air before a thunderstorm. A slender person with pale skin and silver hair stood behind the counter, wearing an outfit that could best be described as Victorian funeral director meets cyberpunk. They looked up as we entered, their eyes one blue, one green, widening slightly. "Welcome to Quantum Curiosities," they said in a voice that was neither distinctly male nor female. "I'm Vesper. How may I assist you this evening?" Ava and I exchanged glances. We hadn't actually discussed what we would say once we got here. "We're just browsing," I offered lamely. Vesper smiled, revealing teeth that seemed just a bit too perfectly aligned. "Few people just browse in my establishment. Most come seeking something specific." "And what might that be?" Ava asked. "Items that exist between possibilities," Vesper replied cryptically. "Objects from paths not taken." I felt a chill run down my spine. What does that mean, exactly? Instead of answering, Vesper gestured toward the display cases. "Please, feel free to explore. Perhaps you'll recognize something." We moved deeper into the shop, examining the strange collection of items. Most seemed ordinary at first glance: watches, keys, books, jewelry, but something about each piece felt subtly wrong, as if they had been designed for a world with slightly different physics or aesthetics. "Noah," Ava whispered, pointing to a case in the corner. "Look." Inside was a collection of coffee mugs. And there, sitting right in the center, was one identical to ours. "Excuse me," I called to Vesper, trying to keep my voice steady. "Could we see this mug, please?" Vesper glided over, unlocked the case, and carefully removed the mug. "A fascinating piece," they said, turning it in their slender hands. "One of my personal favorites." "Why is that?" Ava asked. "It exists in multiple potential timelines simultaneously," Vesper explained, as casually as if discussing the weather. "A quantum object, if you will." I laughed nervously. "You're not serious." Vesper fixed those mismatched eyes on me. "I assure you, Mr. Lawson, I am entirely serious." The laughter died in my throat. "How do you know my name?" "I know both of you," Vesper replied, turning to Ava. "Dr. Martinez. Or perhaps I should say, I know many versions of you, across many timelines." Ava took a step back. "What are you talking about?" "Reality is not the fixed, linear progression most humans believe it to be," Vesper said. "It's more like a vast ocean of possibilities, with currents and eddies and waves that occasionally overlap." "And you're saying this mug is what, crossing between realities?" I asked skeptically. "Not just the mug," Vesper corrected. "Both of you as well. And your siblings, of course." My heart started pounding. "You know about Ellie?" "And Tyler," Vesper confirmed. "Fascinating case. A quantum entanglement of family connections across parallel timelines." Ava grabbed my arm, her fingers digging in. "This is insane." "On the contrary, Dr. Martinez. It's perfectly rational, just operating on principles of physics most humans haven't discovered yet." Vesper replaced the mug in the display case. "Your timeline and several adjacent ones experienced a partial merge approximately 32 hours ago. The effects are usually temporary." "Usually?" I echoed. "Unless something or someone acts as an anchor between the timelines." Vesper's gaze fell meaningfully on the mug Ava was still carrying. "This mug is keeping our timelines merged?" Ava asked incredulously. "It's more accurate to say it's preventing a complete separation," Vesper clarified. "A quantum object that exists simultaneously in multiple realities can serve as a bridge." "So if we get rid of the mug, everything goes back to normal?" I asked. Vesper tilted their head. "Define normal." "Our siblings would exist again," Ava said firmly. "In their respective timelines, yes." Vesper nodded. "Tyler in yours, Dr. Martinez, and Ellie in Mr. Lawson's." "But we'd be separated," I realized, looking at Ava. "Back in our own timelines or whatever." "That is correct," Vesper confirmed. "Though there's no guarantee you would remember any of this. Timeline adjustments often result in memory realignment." Ava and I stood in silence, processing this information. "How do we know you're telling the truth?" Ava finally asked. This sounds like something from a bad sci-fi movie. Vesper smiled again, that too perfect smile. You're a neurologist, Dr. Martinez. You understand that consciousness is essentially electrical impulses interpreted by organic matter. Is it so hard to believe that these electrical patterns might occasionally resonate across dimensional boundaries? Yes, Ava said bluntly. It is. Yet here you stand, with memories of a brother no one else remembers, holding a mug that Mr. Lawson also claims as his own. Vesper spread their hands. Empirical evidence would suggest something unusual is occurring, would it not? I hated to admit it, but Vesper had a point. Let's say we believe you, I said slowly. What exactly happened to cause this timeline merge? Ah, Vesper's mismatched eyes gleamed. That would be your work on the quantum pay security protocol, Mr. Lawson. Quite innovative, breaking down digital encryption into quantum resonant patterns. Unfortunately, without proper containment fields, such work can have ripple effects. My blood ran cold. Are you saying my code did this? Your code in this timeline, yes. Combined with Dr. Martinez's experimental research on neural pathway reconstruction in adjacent timelines. Vesper looked between us. Independently, neither project would have caused a breach. Together, they created a perfect resonance. Ava paled. How do you know about my research? It's not published yet. As I said, I exist across many timelines, Vesper replied enigmatically. I see patterns others cannot. So what do we do now? I asked, feeling overwhelmed. That depends entirely on what outcome you desire, Vesper said. If you wish to restore your original timelines completely, you must destroy the bridge, the mug, at precisely the moment the timelines naturally begin to separate again. Which is when? Ava asked. Vesper checked an antique pocket watch. Approximately 11 hours from now. 7:32 a.m., to be precise. And if we don't destroy it? I asked. Then the timelines remain partially merged. Your siblings would continue to not exist in this composite reality, but you two would remain connected. Vesper paused. There are, of course, other potential complications. Like what? Ava demanded. Reality abhors instability. A partially merged timeline will attempt to stabilize itself, often by eliminating inconsistencies. Vesper's voice took on a clinical tone. In this case, the inconsistencies are you two, the only ones who remember the previous, separate realities. A chill ran through me. Are you saying we're in danger? Not immediately, Vesper assured us. But eventually, yes. The composite timeline would attempt to resolve your paradoxical memories, typically by removing them, along with you. This is insane, Ava repeated, but with less conviction this time. The choice is simple, Vesper continued, ignoring her comment. Destroy the mug at the appointed time and return to your separate realities with your siblings restored, or keep it and remain together in this merged reality, accepting the consequences. Some choice, I muttered. Most significant choices are difficult, Mr. Lawson. Vesper moved back behind the counter. Now, was there anything else you wished to purchase this evening? We left Quantum Curiosities more confused than when we'd entered. Outside, the normal sounds of Los Angeles nightlife continued around us, cars honking, music from bars, people laughing, all blissfully unaware of quantum timelines and reality merges. Do you believe any of that? I asked Ava as we walked to a nearby all-night diner. We both silently agreed we needed coffee and time to think. I don't know, she admitted. It sounds completely ridiculous. But it would explain what's happening. She sighed. And honestly, what other explanation is there? Mass hallucination? Shared psychotic break? Those actually seem more plausible than quantum timeline merges, I pointed out. Maybe. She set the mug on the table between us. We'd brought it into the diner, neither of us willing to let it out of our sight. But our siblings are gone, Noah. No one remembers them but us. That's real, whatever the cause. I nodded, the weight of the situation settling heavily on my shoulders. So we have until 7:32 tomorrow morning to decide. Destroy the mug and go back to our separate lives with our siblings restored, or keep it and stay in this merged reality together, possibly facing some vague existential threat down the line. When you put it like that, the choice seems obvious, Ava said. We destroy it. Right, I agreed, ignoring the strange pang of disappointment I felt. Of course. We sat in silence for a moment, both staring at the mug. I miss Tyler, Ava finally said, her voice small. He's annoying and borrows money he never pays back and calls me at 2 a.m. with his relationship drama, but he's my brother, you know? The thought that he just doesn't exist anymore is unbearable. I feel the same about Ellie, I said. We weren't even that close growing up, typical sibling rivalry stuff. But now that she's gone, it's like someone cut out a piece of my history. Ava reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Then we're agreed. Tomorrow at 7:32, we destroy the mug and fix this. Agreed, I said, squeezing back. And yet, as the night progressed and we continued talking about our siblings, our lives, our work, I found myself wondering if it would really be so simple. Because in just 24 hours, I'd felt more connected to Ava than to anyone I'd met in years. The thought of never seeing her again after tomorrow, of possibly not even remembering her, felt strangely painful. Around 2 a.m., exhausted but too wired to sleep, we decided to go back to my apartment. I lived closer to the diner, and neither of us wanted to be alone with our thoughts. Nice place, Ava commented as I unlocked the door. Very, bachelor pad. Marcus does most of the decorating, I admitted, gesturing to the vintage movie posters and carefully arranged succulents. He's got the aesthetic sense in this friendship. Speaking of Marcus, Ava said, setting the mug carefully on the coffee table, does he remember your sister? I pulled out my phone. Let's find out. I texted Marcus, quick question, what was the name of the girl I took to senior prom? The response came almost immediately, dude, it's 2 a.m. But it was Jessica Watkins. The one with the nose ring your mom hated. Why? Right answer, I told Ava. But if he doesn't remember Ellie? I texted again, one more thing, do you remember what Ellie got me for my 30th birthday? This time the reply took longer. Finally, who's Ellie? I showed the screen to Ava. That confirms it. Try one more, she suggested. Ask him if he remembers meeting me at the coffee shop yesterday. Did you see me talking to a woman at groundwork yesterday morning? I texted. Marcus, no? I was with Zoe all day yesterday prepping for her sister's baby shower. Haven't seen you since Thursday night. Ava and I looked at each other. He doesn't remember meeting you at the coffee shop because in this merged reality, he wasn't there, I reasoned. And I'm guessing if we checked with your friends, they wouldn't remember you getting coffee either. So we not only lost our siblings, but we have different memories of yesterday than everyone else, Ava said, rubbing her temples. This just keeps getting weirder. I made us both tea, and we settled on the couch, the mysterious mug sitting between us like a ticking bomb. Tell me about your research, I said. The neural pathway reconstruction Vesper mentioned. Ava looked surprised. You want to talk shop at 2:30 in the morning? I'm trying to understand if there's any scientific basis for what's happening. Vesper said our work combined somehow to cause this. She nodded. Fair enough. I'm studying how to repair damaged neural pathways in patients with traumatic brain injuries. Specifically, I'm looking at using quantum entanglement principles to map neural connections. That sounds advanced. It's mostly theoretical at this point, she admitted. But early tests have been promising. The idea is that neurons can maintain quantum coherence much longer than previously thought, and we can use that to essentially remind damaged areas how they were previously connected. And my security protocol supposedly works on similar principles, I mused. Breaking down encryption into quantum resonant patterns, whatever that means. The quantum computing field has been making huge strides lately, Ava said. It's not completely implausible that our work could have some overlap. Enough overlap to tear a hole between realities? I raised an eyebrow skeptically. No, that part is definitely still in sci-fi territory, she conceded with a small smile. We continued talking as the night deepened, moving from quantum physics to our childhoods. Both confirmed we really had dressed as Einstein for Halloween, in what seemed like too bizarre a coincidence, to our favorite books and movies, to our dating histories. It was somewhere around 4 a.m., as we shared stories about our worst first dates, that I realized I was falling for her. Which was problematic, given that in a few hours, we'd presumably be back in separate realities, possibly with no memory of each other. We should try to get some sleep, I finally said around 5 a.m. I'll take the couch, you can have my bed. Don't be ridiculous, Ava said, stifling a yawn. The couch is fine for me. Chivalry isn't dead, you know. Neither is feminism, she countered with a grin. But honestly, I prefer couches for napping anyway. Something about the containment. I got her a pillow and blanket, then paused before heading to my bedroom. Ava? Does this feel like? I don't know, fate to you? Us meeting like this? She looked up at me, her hazel eyes serious. I don't know if I believe in fate, Noah. But I do think it's strange that out of all the people who could have merged timelines, it was us. Two people who both dressed as Einstein for Halloween, both work with quantum principles. Both single, I added with a small smile. Both missing siblings who are the only ones who truly know us, she finished softly. We looked at each other for a long moment, the air between us charged with something I couldn't quite name. We should sleep, she finally said, breaking the tension. Right. Good night, Ava. Good night, Noah. I lay awake in my bed, listening to the faint sounds of the city outside my window and thinking about Ellie. About how she always remembered my birthday when our parents sometimes forgot. About how she'd call me randomly just to share some weird fact she'd learned. About how she'd flown out to LA when I broke up with my long-term girlfriend 2 years ago, just to make sure I was okay. The thought of getting her back should have made the decision easy. And yet, my alarm went off at 7 a.m. 32 minutes until the moment Vesper had specified. I dragged myself out of bed and found Ava already awake, sitting on the couch with the mug in her hands. Did you sleep? I asked. Not really, she admitted, setting the mug down carefully on the coffee table. I kept thinking about Tyler. About what Vesper said. I sat beside her, watching the morning light play across the impossible mug that had connected our worlds. Having second thoughts? Aren't you? She met my eyes, and I saw the conflict there, the same war being waged inside me. I've been thinking, I said slowly. What if Vesper was manipulating us? Playing on our fears? We don't actually know that destroying the mug will restore our siblings. Ava nodded. I've had the same thought. But we also don't know what happens if we keep it. She checked her phone. 25 minutes left to decide. We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of two worlds pressing down on us. Tell me more about Tyler, I said finally. A small smile touched her lips. He's 7 years younger. Always getting into trouble, but with this charm that makes it impossible to stay mad at him. He's the only one who remembers what our dad was like before he left. She paused. What about Ellie? She's my big sister. Always had it together when I was falling apart. 2 kids, perfect husband, dream job. But she still makes time for her mess of a brother. I swallowed hard. She's the only one who truly gets my weird sense of humor. Ava reached for my hand, interlacing our fingers. This isn't fair. No, I agreed. It's not. The minutes ticked by as we sat there, hands joined, both lost in our own thoughts. At 7:25, Ava stood up. We should prepare, she said, picking up the mug. If we're going to destroy it, it should be somewhere it won't make a mess or hurt anyone. The bathroom, I suggested. We can break it in the tub. We moved as if in a dream to the bathroom. I placed a hammer from my toolbox on the edge of the tub. 7 minutes left. Noah, Ava said suddenly, what if we could find each other again? In our original timelines? How? Quantum curiosities. If Vesper exists across timelines like they claimed, maybe they could help us reconnect. I shook my head. That's a big if. And even if we could find each other again, we'd just be strangers. Would we? She stepped closer. Something brought us together across realities. That has to mean something. 5 minutes left. My heart hammered in my chest. What if we're making a huge mistake? I whispered. What if this is our only chance? Or what if keeping the mug really does erase us eventually, like Vesper warned? Ava countered. Then we lose not just each other, but everything. 3 minutes. The tension was unbearable. I can't do this, I said suddenly, taking the mug from her hands and stepping back from the tub. I can't give you up on the basis of some cryptic shopkeeper's warning. But Tyler. Ellie. I know. My voice broke. God, I know. But what if there's another way? What if we can find them without losing each other? 1 minute left. Ava's eyes filled with tears. I'm scared, Noah. Me too. I set the mug on the counter, away from the tub. But I don't want to forget you. 30 seconds. We're being selfish, she whispered, but made no move toward the mug. Maybe, I agreed. Or maybe we're part of something bigger that we don't understand yet. 10 seconds. Final chance, I said, holding out the hammer to her. Ava looked at it, then at me, then back at the mug. The seconds ticked down. 5. 4. 3. 2. No, she said firmly, pushing my hand with the hammer away. We find another way. The clock struck 7:32. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a strange vibration filled the air, like the hum of 1,000 bees. The mug began to glow with a soft blue light, pulsating in sync with the vibration. Noah? Ava's voice sounded distant, though she was right beside me. I'm here, I tried to say, but my words seemed to scatter before reaching her. The bathroom warped around us, stretching and compressing like a funhouse mirror. I reached for Ava, but my hand passed through hers as if one of us was made of mist. Don't leave me, I heard her say, before the world went white. I woke up on my bathroom floor, my head pounding. For a moment, I couldn't remember why I was there. Then it all came flooding back. Ava. I scrambled to my feet, looking around wildly. She was gone. The mug sat innocently on the counter, no longer glowing, looking exactly as it always had. I picked it up with trembling hands, turning it over. My Einstein Halloween costume. My face. My mug. Had I imagined her? Had I imagined all of it? I stumbled out to the living room, grabbing my phone. No messages from anyone named Ava. No record of our texts. But when I opened my contacts, there was Ellie again, right where she belonged. With shaking fingers, I called her. Noah? Everything okay? It's early for you to be calling on a Sunday. Her voice, so familiar, so real, brought tears to my eyes. Just wanted to check in, I managed. Make sure we're still on for your visit next month. Of course. The kids are already talking about seeing their uncle. You sure you're okay? You sound weird. I'm fine, I lied. Just really glad to hear your voice. After hanging up, I sat staring at the mug. Had it all been some elaborate hallucination from too much codeine and caffeine? But it had felt so real. Ava had felt so real. On impulse, I drove to Melrose Avenue. The space between the vintage clothing store and crystal shop was now occupied by a vape store that looked like it had been there for years. No sign of quantum curiosities. For the next week, I found myself drawn to Groundwork Coffee each morning, hoping to see a dark-haired woman in a green sweater. She never appeared. Work resumed. Life went on. Ellie visited with her family. Everything was normal. Except at night, when I would dream of hazel eyes and quantum physics and choices that split realities apart. 3 months later, I was presenting the completed quantum pay security protocol to the client when something in the conference room caught my eye. A woman was setting up for the next meeting, arranging papers on the far end of the table. A woman with dark hair and a familiar profile. My presentation faltered mid-sentence. "Mr. Lawson," the client prompted. "The encryption methodology?" "Right, sorry," I continued automatically, my eyes still fixed on the woman. "The encryption uses a proprietary layering system that..." The woman turned, and our eyes met. Hazel eyes that widened in shock. "Ava?" I whispered, forgetting my audience entirely. She dropped her papers, scattering them across the floor. "Noah?" The client cleared his throat pointedly. "Do you two know each other?" "No," Ava said, at the exact moment I said, "yes." We stared at each other in confusion. "I'm so sorry," she said quickly, gathering her papers. "I thought you were someone else. Please, continue your presentation." Somehow, I managed to finish. The moment the clients left, I hurried to where Ava was still organizing her materials. "It's really you, isn't it?" I asked. "But how do you know me if our timelines separated?" She looked at me warily. "I don't understand what you're talking about. I've never met you before." My heart sank. The coffee shop? The mug? Vesper? Nothing but confusion in her eyes. "I'm sorry," I said, backing away. "Mistaken identity." As I turned to leave, she called after me. "Wait." I looked back. "This is going to sound crazy," she said, "but for months I've been having these dreams about a man I've never met. And you look exactly like him. Dreams about quantum timeline merges and a missing brother named Tyler?" Her face paled. "How did you know that?" "Because it wasn't a dream, Ava. It was real." That evening, over drinks at the same Echo Park bar, we compared notes. She remembered everything: Vesper, the mug, our night talking until dawn, but only as a vivid recurring dream. In her reality, she had never lost Tyler. Had never actually met me. "But then how are you here now?" she asked. "How do we both exist in the same timeline again?" I shook my head. "I don't know. Maybe Vesper was wrong. Maybe the timelines were always meant to recombine eventually. Or maybe..." She hesitated, then reached into her bag and pulled out something wrapped in cloth. My breath caught as she unwrapped it. The Einstein mug. Her version of it. "I kept dreaming about you and this mug," she explained. "So when Tyler mentioned finding it at a thrift store, I asked if I could have it. It felt important somehow." "Can I see it?" I asked. As our hands touched over the mug, a spark of static electricity jumped between us. We both gasped, and for an instant, I could have sworn I saw Vesper's mismatched eyes reflected in the ceramic. "I think," I said slowly, "that some connections are stronger than reality itself." Ava smiled. "You know, I've never believed in fate. Or any of that supernatural nonsense." I laughed, recognizing my own words from what felt like another lifetime. "Neither have I. But I'm willing to reconsider." 6 months later, my sister Ellie and Ava's brother Tyler met for the first time at our engagement party. They hit it off immediately, bonding over embarrassing stories about us. "It's weird," Ellie told me as we watched Tyler show her kids a magic trick. "I feel like I've known him for years." "Maybe in another reality you did," I said. She laughed, thinking I was joking. The Einstein mug, both versions of it now, sits on our mantelpiece. Sometimes, late at night, I swear I can hear them humming faintly, a quantum resonance across possibilities. I still don't know exactly what happened that strange January weekend. Whether timelines really merged, whether Vesper was some kind of interdimensional being, whether any of Ava's dreams were actually memories from another reality. But I do know this: in every possible universe, in every potential timeline, some connections are simply meant to be. And that's enough for me. The end.